Well, hello everyone. This is a really hard video to make. But as you can tell from the title, Aspen is no longer with us. Gosh, I wanted to do this without crying, and I thought maybe I could do it now. So it's been over a week now, and honestly, through the event that happened, I filmed because I'm in Norway right now, and I had nobody here with me when this thing happened. And it was really kind of the only thing that I could talk to was the camera. And I thought maybe I would put that up. But I can't. It was a very traumatic event, and I watched that footage a couple of times, and I just think that it's probably not the wisest for me to share that. So many of you are probably wondering what happened, and might be shocked about this. And believe you me, I think my body has been going through a state of I don't know if you want to call it post-traumatic stress or what it is, but this was a very sudden passing, and you guys have been a part of her life ever since she was a baby. I have a video on this channel of when I brought her home. Oh gosh. So you guys deserve to know everything that happens, and all of us know when we get a dog that one day we're gonna face having to say goodbye. I just definitely didn't think that it was going to be this soon. Aspen was 8 years old. She just turned 8 in January. And I think our family has probably gone through the most traumatic way that you can lose a dog. So, to give you a very quick story, Aspen had been limping before I left for Norway. As you guys know, the plan was to bring her here, but I was going to come here first to get things set up, and then she was going to come with my family in May, and that was the whole plan. Before I left, literally the day before I left, we took her to the vet, and we confirmed that she had a partial tear for her cranial cruciate ligament, which is a ligament in the knee. And so she was kind of hobbling a little bit on that back leg, and we got her some meds, and she was on bed rest, and we were really careful. We're going to be really careful with her. I was leaving, but my parents were going to be taking care of her, and the vet told us right then and there that these things are really difficult to heal, and that in general he found that about 50% of dogs heal, and about 50% of them will tear that ligament fully. And we were hoping that she would be the one, in that 50% that heal. That was not the case. So about a week, no, not a week, 2 weeks ago, when my parents were taking care of her and she was in the park, she lunged for a squirrel or something. She saw something, she lunged, and they think that at that point she wound up tearing that ligament fully, even though she was on a leash. And so she was basically not using that leg at all. She was holding it up. She would maybe touch her toe to the ground, but she wouldn't use it. My parents took her in to the vet again to get x-rays done again, and he confirmed that yes, that ligament was completely torn and she was going to need surgery. So the surgery was scheduled, and that was on Thursday, April 6th. And I'm in Norway, so I'm on a different time schedule, and so she was taken in for surgery on that day, and she went through sedation totally fine. So they sedated her, and then they put her under general anesthetic. She was fine. In orthopedic surgery, though, so she was going to have a TPLO, which is a surgery where they basically change the angle of the tibia. So, like, they actually have to cut the bone and reposition it so that that joint is now stable. It basically creates a stable joint without the ligament, because the ligament's torn. And in those surgeries, for some reason, they require an epidural, and they require they administer, at least in Canada, a pre-surgical antibiotic. And during that when they went to administer the antibiotic, they gave it to her IV, so intravenously into her blood. And about 2 minutes later, she stopped breathing. And her body went into severe anaphylaxis. So, like, she had an huge allergic reaction. And they almost lost her on the table. And they fought to bring her back and stabilize her heart, because her heart almost stopped beating. And they were able to stabilize her, but by then she was completely unresponsive. So she was, like, they got her breathing back to normal and her heart rate back to normal, but she was not with it. Like, they couldn't get her brain back. And basically they tried to save her. She was in a more remote clinic. We wound up evacuating her. We wound up transporting her to a emergency critical care hospital that was about 45 minutes away. She was intubated the entire time, so she wasn't really breathing on her own. But during that time too, with a allergic reaction like that, one of the things that can happen is the wall of the gastrointestinal tract can start to basically, like, slough off. So she was just passing blood, total blood, and we never were able to get her. We never were able to get her back. There was nothing there. And we tried really hard. We were at my parents were at the emergency clinic, and I was able to Skype in and be there for a bunch of the decisions. And we got her every test possible. They did ultrasounds, they did everything, and about 5 hours after the incident, her body just started shutting down, and her kidneys were shutting down, and her lungs were filling with fluid, and she also lost her response in her pupils. And so at that point, they told us that she probably had a very severe brain injury. And we weren't going to get her back. And she was suffering. Gosh. I'm trying to do this without crying, you guys. It's been over a week, but it's really hard. So I was there on the phone when we put her down. I was able to talk to her and tell her how much I loved her. But man, was it difficult not to be there. It was really, really hard day for our whole family. I mean, obviously it's been more than a day. Like, you don't imagine your dog being healthy in the morning and totally fine, and then losing your dog. It's probably the biggest nightmare for any dog owner ever. And this whole week has been a total nightmare. Aspen was really important to me, and I think not everyone can understand the bond that some people do create with their animals. I'm sure many of you can. But I connect with dogs more than I do people, usually. And there was just something really special. She was my first dog that I really raised from a puppy. As an adult, I got her when I was 23 or 24. And I trained her, and there was just this really, really special bond there, and I loved her. I still love her so much. So yeah, it's been really difficult, and for the first week there, first 48 hours I couldn't sleep. First week I really couldn't eat. I maybe had, I think there was one chocolate bar that kept me alive. And there was no, it was interesting because there was no drive to eat at all. And now finally I have been able to eat a little bit. So I feel like I'm starting to, at least my body is starting to maybe come out of the shock of it a little bit. But it's really hard. And it's really hard to not be there and see her little crate with her name that I got engraved on it, that she was gonna come here to be with me in. And it's really hard knowing all of the things that I had planned. And, you know, I've already visualized her here in Norway with me, and yeah, it's been really hard. I just wanted to let you guys know what happened, and I'm going to try to make a video just to celebrate her life a little bit. I'm still working to try and make sure that as much can come from this really, really tragic thing as possible. I'm working on maybe seeing if I can publish her case, and looking at whether or not there are legitimate reasons for the administration of antibiotics before a sterile surgery like that. I'm not a vet, but I do have research background in animal health and at least have a doctorate in research. So maybe I can help push some of this information into the light a little bit more, especially because the ER vet that we worked with in the end there that was trying to save Aspen, she said that she's seen multiple cases of reactions like this. So that's not good. And that should definitely be something that people know a bit more about, especially veterinarians. So I'll do everything in my power to see if I can make something come out of this. But it has been... life has not been kind. As for the future of this channel, I had hinted before in my previous video that I had already started working on getting a second Australian Shepherd. I talked to Aspen all the time that she was going to meet her little sister, her little brother or sister. I'm pretty sure it's a sister. And I had already talked to a breeder and had been on their list since December. And I'm going to continue with that. I feel like Aspen, I mean, she didn't know what I was saying, but I told her about her sister. She even knew the name. And I was so excited for them to meet, and I just feel like if I don't get this puppy, that I will have missed a part of that story. I don't know if that makes sense. So there is going to be a new little one in the next few months. And of course, I would love to share her life. The one thing that I am really, really thankful for is that I have all these videos of Aspen to look back on. And it really means a lot to be able to see all of her life and all of the happy times to get us out of this mental focus on what's happened in the past week that was so traumatic and so just... I don't know. So there will be more videos at some point, but our family is grieving right now, and it's going to be a long time until I'm okay, and until all of us are okay. I feel for my family who's in Canada and who had to go back to that house and see her little bed, you know, empty and all of that. But we will be okay eventually.